Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
Welcome back to the show. It is great to have your company, and we are joined by a special guest as we set the scene for the new jump season. A man who's going to steer us in the right direction is somebody who's been involved in sourcing over 4,000 winners from Cheltenham Festival heroes, Aintree heroes, multiple Grade 1 winners, Gold Cup winners as well for that matter, and the great Envoi Allen. Tom Malone, you're very welcome back to the Final Furlong podcast.
Happy to be on.
I know it's an incredibly busy time for you. You were just at the Arcana sale. You're in the middle of sale season now, and the list of horses we're going to go through, on the face of it, looks very, very exciting. Busy time for you.
Yeah, well, when you asked to come back on, I said, yeah, no problem. It's been a tricky year, but let's roll at it. And I said, I'd sit down and go through a list for you. I actually gave myself a pat on the back after I got through the list. I said, hasn't been that bad, actually, has it?
The line you gave the Racing Post when you gave the interview to them was you felt like you'd been thrown under the bus after the whole Paul Nicholls fiasco. And that's what it felt like. And I think the vast majority of people who work within the industry or work within the racing media could all see through it and go, this is nonsense. But for you in that moment, how did that feel?
I understood what was happening. Paul had to make a decision for his yard, his business, his owners. And yeah, you could knock on the face of it and say most of the horses weren't good enough. But I think he had an incredibly tricky year as well, which absolutely duplicated the problem. And you had the outside world getting involved then. And before long, it was a shitstorm. And Paul made a decision. I still buy horses for Paul, but he just opened the floor up to help his own business. I kind of took me 6 or 8 weeks to take my head out of my backside and think life was over. It was all going to disappear. Actually, then I got my mojo in gear. And I've had as busy a spring as I've ever had. I think it opened the door for me to a lot of places that I wasn't getting into because they probably perceived that Paul had first choice on any nice horse that I would have. And, you know, so that's helped me buy a lot of fresh, new, young blood this year for different people.
But everybody gets fired. There's a line in media, Tom, if you haven't been fired from a job, you've never really worked in media in the first place. But it's the ability to be able to pick yourself up and bounce back, which is not an easy thing to do. And when that happens to you in such a high profile scenario, you mentioned 6-7 weeks of having to try and get through it. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, I suppose not. But I never really knew it until when crap like this happens, you find out how resilient you are and hard. And there's very little that will get to me in life, very little. And I pride myself on that I just dust myself down, let's go. Because the harder you work, the luckier you get. So you keep kicking them doors open, you'll find what you're looking for, end of. And that's why probably deep down, Paul hasn't totally cut ties either. Because if he was honest to himself, he's worked with a lot of people, but he hadn't worked with too many that has worked as hard for him. Whether it's been fruitful enough, that's another. But he knows deep down that when I work for someone, let it be anyone, let it be David Pipe, Jamie Snowden, all them people, by God, they can get me 24 hours a day, and I'm on it. If I need a horse, there's very few that can get to one quicker or buy one quicker than me.
And you mentioned the doors have opened for other stables and other owners. So if there was a perception that you two were intrinsically linked, well, that was clearly broken with what Paul had said. But your proven track record is there for all to see, and people who have the ability to buy racehorses, but maybe don't necessarily have the knowledge that you have, we're going to want to be able to tap into that knowledge.
Yeah, I suppose. But, you know, big boys, big toys, you know, people want to believe that they're number one. And that's fine. And so they should when they're trying to buy the fastest racehorse. But there are that many of the fastest racehorses. That's a unique thing trying to find that horse, isn't it? But yeah, look, you try your best in every scenario. It doesn't always work out, but you know, I bought a lot of good horses for a lot of different people, and I've always kind of kept it open. I remember one year in Aintree, I had 3 Grade 1 winners and a Grand National, and none of them were for Paul. Do you know what I mean? Richard Woolacott, Tom George, Colin Tizard and Lucinda Russell, as I look at the picture, the 4 of them, do you know what I mean? And were for a lot of other people. So I used to always be able to say, well, yes, Paul he can spend the most money at times, which will always give you that chance to buy the horse. So, but I like to keep it open and keep buying what I think is the nicest horse.
And we've got a lot of horses to go through for the new season. There's a few of them are trained by Paul, but the vast majority of them are not.
Yeah. Look, like you said, I've still got a lot of good horses with Paul to run. A lot of good horses, you know, like I said, I've bought 5 or 6 for him over the last couple or 3 months. So it's not that the door's closed for either of us. It's just that for his business, he just wanted to open it up and do things a little different,
and
which he's entitled to.
Listen, everybody's free to make their own decisions. They're free to work with who they want to. Nobody has a right to make somebody do something they don't want to do. That's not how this works. I was reliably informed, though, that you were at Ditchit not so long ago.
I was only there a couple of weeks. Me and Paul speak daily. We still speak daily. Yeah, there's no fallout. Me and Paul haven't had a fallout. Like, it's contrary to what the outer media want to speculate. I've been sacked and we're at loggerheads, and we had a party here recently. Him and his Nana, his partner, were down here. We listen. That won't get in the way of me and him. We're bigger and better than that now.
That is not something that would have been known by the world of media coverage of.
They don't care. They don't care about that.
To use your own phrase, the shit show. If YouTube will allow us to. So look, I think people would be glad to hear that, because obviously Paul Nicholls is highly respected and well liked, and you're well liked too. So it's good to see that there's not a massive epic bust up of any kind.
No, and plenty of his owners. We had a big day at his owners' day. And plenty of his owners, I've bought very good horses for them, and they're very, very good friends of mine. So why wouldn't he keep the link as well? You know, people would prefer to buy off other people, and some of his owners want to buy off me. That's brilliant, sir. Let's keep it going.
Okay, well, the first horse we're going to talk about for the new jump season is a horse I'm really excited about. I think he would have won the Champion Bumper, but maybe that's very unfair to Bambino Fever. And it's David Pipe's Wind Beneath My Wings, who was a good horse in bumpers in Ireland. Got beaten one day, I don't know how, with the benefit of hindsight. Okay, you can tell us more about that in a second. But the performance at Ascot was absolutely stunning visually, and this is a serious prospect for hurdling.
Yeah, so Pat Flynn trained him in Ireland, and Pat rang me after he won in Cork. He won a short head on maybe good to firm grounds. And he said, this is a real good horse. And it was in July. And I said, well, Pat, to be fair now, I'm not getting stuck in. He wanted a lot of money for him. I said, I'm not getting stuck into a summer bumper farm, Pat. I said, I can't do it. So that's fine. He's obviously, nobody came up with the same money he was looking for. So I kept an eye. And then he ran in Ballinrobe 2 months later, and he got beat. But he only got beat because after the race, he chucked him out for 3 or 4 weeks in Cork. And I didn't know this prior to that. He chucked him out for 3 or 4 weeks and still travelled through Ballinrobe like the best horse, but took a blow at the 2 furlong pole. And then Emmet Mullins' horse passed him and beat him 4 lengths. And I kept thinking to myself, I hadn't seen the race on the night. I kept thinking, he's not as good as Pat thought anyway, till I watched the replay. He still went through the race like the best horse. And then when I rang Pat, he said, Tom, I made a boo-boo. He blew up. And I went, oh. I said, what are you doing with him next? I knew no one was going to rush to the door to buy him because he got beat. I said, what are you going to do with him next? He said, I'm going to Listowel in 3 weeks' time. I said, grand, or 2 weeks' time. So he ran him 2 weeks later on soft ground, and he absolutely pulled him apart. And I went straight in, and I got him bought, done the deal, got Professor Caroline Tisdale to buy him to go to David. And she took half of him, and Jeff Thompson, which is W&S Recycling, Dave Pipe's sponsor, he took the other half. And I'll never forget it. When he arrived, I said, now, Dave, take your time. He says, well, what about running him at the Paddy Power? I said, relax, Dave. We've had him 2.5 weeks. Will you just chill, will you, please? And we were giggling off over it. And anyway, Dave said, no, I'm only messing. We're going to go to Ascot for the listed bumper that we'd won it previously with another horse from the yard. I said, brilliant, let's go. 12 of the 14 runners had won last time out.
Yeah.
In that bumper. It's as impressive a horse as I've had win on debut in my career.
It was an extraordinary performance. It's a 14-length win. It's a race that Israel Champ won back in the day for David Pipe as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that horse.
And I'm telling you now, this horse looks twice the horse now. I seen him 2 weeks ago. He's a different animal.
So it was obviously a real shame that he missed the Champion Bumper, but in some ways, is it a blessing in disguise?
Listen, it could be, because it gave him all the time to strengthen up and be a bigger, stronger horse without being, grand. If he'd have went to Cheltenham, he'd have had a big say. You'd have been hard pressed to see off that performance him being out of the 3 in the Champion Bumper. I personally thought he would have won it. But so hey ho, we live to fight another day. He jumps extremely well, and the future is bright.
Trip and ground. What do you think is ideal for him?
I don't think it matters. I honestly don't think it matters.
Okay. If you were
he's won on good ground, good to firm ground in Cork, right? He didn't win impressive, but it was his first ever start, and he's won on heavy ground. I don't think the trip will matter. I'd say if I'm honest, we'll kind of start off and work. Davis decided he'll work back from the Supreme Novice is the plan, and he'll probably have 2 or 3 runs before that and target the Supreme Novice. Now, if at one of the stages them races say he needs to step up and trip, well, so be it. But right now, I don't see too many. I didn't see too many problems with pace in Ascot.
That's going to be a horse Jack Tudor's going to be relishing the prospect of getting on board.
He's been on him. He's been on him plenty, and he says the dream is still alive.
Okay, Wind Beneath My Wings. I almost want to go back in for the Supreme Novice Hurdle now with 1xBet, but we'll hold Mad Tough.
I have already at 40-1. Yeah.
Only this is the 3rd podcast officially that we've done for the new jump season, and already there's a 40-1 shot for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. Okay. He's a really exciting prospect. I hope everything goes well.
He just looks smart. I hope everything stays in one piece for David and the owners, because it's lovely to see David with a horse of this quality. I mean, like, I would say he's one of only 2 or 3 horses that looked that impressive in England last year.
Yeah.
That people remember for that reason. And dare I say it, I've said it to Dave a few times. If Willie Mullins had a horse do that in a bumper around Leopardstown and never ran again, it didn't matter what race he'd be entered for, I think he'd be favoured for the Supreme Novice now.
Yep. Of course he would.
Wouldn't he? Well, whether it ended up winning it or not, but on the visual performance, if Willie Mullins had a horse do that, he would be favoured for any race he's entered in going forward.
Davy Crockett is favoured for the Supreme. I'm not belittling that, by the way. Maybe he deserves it, but it's just kind of wild that he is such a short price so quickly. Speaking of the aforementioned Willie Mullins, and indeed Professor Caroline Tisdale, Game of Inches, who's a horse I saw win at Punchestown, happened to be there that day. He was backed as though defeat was out of the question. You could see why towards the end of the race he stayed on very strongly, and he was sent off 6-1 for the champion bumper. He was beaten 10 lengths, but maybe that just came a little bit too soon, and that was a concern that Patrick had expressed.
Yes. Yeah, I spotted him unraced in Paul Cashman's Glenview Stables in Cork, and I fell in love with him. And I kept my eye on him at every stage, how he was working, where he was going. And he went to Cragmore on his first start, and he actually fell. And it took him a long time to get over that. He didn't get over it before a summer's break and coming back. And I still kept an eye on him. I've seen him 2 or 3 more times. And then he went to Drumahan and he won by 9 lengths, and he just bossed them. He destroyed them. And it was so close to staying in England, that horse, and it ended up in Willie Mullins's, and Caroline ended up buying it. And I just knew, I was thinking, I seen him as a 3-mile chaser of the future, but when Willie said that, he'll go to Punchestown and he'll take some stopping, and sure, after he won in Punchestown, he went favourite for the champion bumper. I know he was 6-1 on the day, but he was favourite for a couple of weeks beforehand, at least anyway. And, I'd say he's a graded hurdler at least this year now.
Well, he certainly looks like he's going to be that way inclined. Professor Caroline Tisdale and Brian Drew are new to the yard. I know that Caroline has this one herself, but the horses that she ended up with last year, I think, were Game of Inches, Fishery Lane, and Final Demand.
Yeah, Final Demand, yeah.
So 3 of them all end up going to the Cheltenham Festival. It's not difficult to then see why Caroline would decide, okay, this guy Willie Mullins seems to know what he's doing.
Yeah, but look, she had a lot of luck with David Pipe and in England as well, and now she has 2 or 3 at Willie's. But I'd say she'll keep her foot in both countries.
Oh, I hope so. On Tempor 2, Moonracer, huge success for David.
Yeah, no, she's had a lot. So, and the likes of Adagio, he came from a claimer. We bought him out of a claimer in France. So he was very cheap and one of the good ones. But it's nice to see her with nice horses. She puts a lot into the game and getting rewarded for it.
Is he going to be a intermediate staying horse this season?
I would have thought so. Look, I mean, I wouldn't know the day-to-day runnings of where he's at with Willie Mullins, but I would have thought he's a 2.5. He's a 2.5 mile horse plus now, personally.
Okay, so we could have the Supreme bearing Bingham double then. I
hope this lad has as much ability as Wind Beneath My Wings when he gets loose.
Turner's Novice Hurdle, to give it its proper sponsorship title.
Proper name,
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, really exciting horse for the new season. Looking forward to seeing him. One of the top bumper horses last year was Sober Glory for Philip Hobbs and Johnson White. Really impressive at Exeter, but it was the listed performance at Newbury that really caught my eye. We were very confident about him on the Final Furlong podcast, if my memory can engage back to then. And he got the job done quite nicely. Soft ground were his 3 performances on the track. He was a good to yielding winner in a point-to-point, but his 3 performances on the racecourse were soft ground. Is that important to him?
It's not important. It's just he can kill them on it. So it'll be a preferred route. And I suppose when you have a horse that's gone on that sort of ground on 3 occasions, you're inclined to want to stay with ease in the ground. I would say we'll wait until there's ease in the ground before we run him, and he'll go for a maiden hurdle somewhere. But he's very, very smart. Very smart. I mean, the form of that race has worked out. Unbelievable. Baron War went to Punchestown and won. Act of Innocence went down to Taunton and won. So yeah, that you can mark that up as a proper nice horse. That Sober Glory, I'd say he'll be a black type performer this year. And
he's from the family of Fingal Bay as well, and obviously these are
well, funny how when I bought him off Cormac Doyle after winning his pint to pint, I think it was the May pint to pint Tatterstall Cheltenham sale. He'd ran him and he'd won, and he said, "Tom, I can't get this horse really fit." He ran him 85% fit, and when he arrived at the sale, I promise you now, he'd ran on the Sunday, travelled on the Monday, got to the sale on the Tuesday morning, vetted, and was being sold. And he had not lost about 2 kilos. This horse was still a big barrel of a horse. So I thought, well, whatever you are, you're tough. You don't let much get in the way. And to win 3 bumpers with him astonished me. I didn't think I was buying a bumper, a good bumper horse as such. I thought I might buy a bumper winner, but that you'd be a nice jumping horse. But the pedigree came true, and what he done over in bumpers, which helped us. He would have went to Aintree had the ground been on the slow side, but we didn't want to. We didn't want to take him all the way up there on good or quicker ground, given that the owners love jumping horses and they love a future, and they never push their horses. They give them all the time in the world, and they never ask them to do something that they fear risk them.
And what's your thoughts about his technique for jumping and hurdling?
Oh, he'll be fine. Absolutely fine.
Okay. Sober Glory. We may not be too sober if Sober Glory lands a big race for us this season. Switching to young Paul Nicholls, and his first one is Act of Innocence. So he was behind Sober Glory in a bumper, and the last time we saw him, he was a winner at Taunton at the end of the season. He was pretty impressive that day.
Well, like if you go back, if anyone goes back and look at when he was forward, like if you take it, we ran him in a listed bumper first time out. He ran in February, first time out in a listed bumper behind Sober Glory. He was only beaten 4 lengths. And if you look at the race, you would have thought coming up the straight there was only one winner, and it was this horse. And for me, having not ran since April before, you can guarantee that he got a bit tired, and he'd been on it. He had actually swung through the race. He'd done plenty, and to only be beaten 4 lengths by what I think in Sober Glory is a very good horse. But at one stage, there was only one winner, and it was this horse. So this is going to be a proper sharp 2-mile hurdle horse to start with, and a chaser in the end. And then just the owners and Paul decided to go to Taunton with him. He could have went to Aintree, but he's a tall, leggy horse that would have done brilliantly over the summer. They decided to go to Taunton with him and just get a win on the board. And sure, he bolted up. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do too much on that given day, but he bolted up. He was never ever going to get beat.
He was very strong in the betting that day too, which would indicate good things. He'd shaped really well in that Goff's bumper. I remember him finishing 3rd that day.
It was the reason I bought him is that I thought he 3rd of 25 in a bumper first time out. He's by my dream boat, which is unheard of. But the only reason I really know about him, I bought my dream boat as a breeze up horse, and he ended up winning the Prince of Wales at Royal Ascot. So I know everything about that horse. Yes, yeah. I bought him as a breeze up horse for the Roonies.
You did me out of money.
It's gone beyond the 7-year period. But yeah, no, I bought him. So I was kind of I kind of had an affinity to the horse, and sure, this was a beautiful, beautiful horse. And Gerard Loughlin at the time was waxing lyrical about how good he was. I remember having a bit of joust with Eddie O'Leary, because Eddie O'Leary loved the horse as well, and he was hoping it would go to the Punchestown sale, which was a few days later, and he'd try and rob him. And of course, then he abused me because I'd given a good few pound for him and gave me a bollocking that you should have left him off to the sale. Yeah, what, for you to buy him? So we were having a ding dong about that, but I was delighted to get him anyway. Delighted to get him.
How buoyant is the National Hunt thoroughbred market right now?
It is unbelievable for the right horse. There are more people to spend big on the best horse, the perceived best horse, right now, that you have a fight on your hand. I remember I done like here, I know you can't see it, but here's a sheet of the pointers, Ireland, England, and the Irish are the green and the yellow is England. And last year's,
throw it up again. Give us a look again.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll get you last year's one, and then it'll make more sense to you then. So last year's one, basically.
Please hold colour. Your colour is very important to us here, Fan Front Podcast.
Yes. Let's just say that's this year. That's this year anyway. But I haven't last year's one to hand. But basically, what I was trying to get, you can have an opinion on something, but if you have facts and figures, it's not hearsay. No one can say anything then. So, but last year, of the top 25 Irish pointers sold, 20 of them stayed in Ireland. Now, you can say what you like, and then what will happen is people will say, I see the Irish are keeping the best. No, you're wrong. If you have the most money, you will get that horse. Mm. But all the money, or the big money, is in Ireland now. And they're getting to keep them. It's not that they're getting first choice. They can come in and outbid you. And that's been a difficult one for the English market, to try and get the best horse. Because the biggest owners, let it be Rob Core, let it be Jigginstown, JP, Barry Connell, to name but 4 or 5 of 10 lads, can give 300 grand plus for a horse without even thinking about it.
And 300 grand is that's pretty much the low end now, because I've been talking to quite a few people about sourcing horses in France and sourcing point-to-pointers in Ireland. And the first time I went to William Mullins' yard, one of the stable staff there was telling me, this horse cost £1 million. Which would have been a private purchase, and it would have been almost unheard of. That's not unheard of anymore. That's becoming frighteningly commonplace. If you want if you want to go and buy a really top class, high end horse that looks like the most valuable commodity in racing is potential, and if you want to buy the horse that's the most potential, you're going to have to pay for it.
Well, in the last 2.5 weeks in France alone, there's been 3 horses sold for 6, 7, and 900,000 euros. Now, it'll end up in their yards, prospective yards, and if they end up being good, no one will know that. That's fine. But the industry kind of knows. Anyone embedded in it knows, because you'd hear it. And you don't need to, the problem is you don't need to be buying one of them, because then you have to be extremely lucky everything goes right. The people who are buying these are buying 10 of them to find that one.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where it's difficult, is seeing that this is a reaction sort of an industry, and you've got to be ready to move. And this is why sometimes I do so much homework before something happens on a race course, if I can, and know about a horse prior to that. There's been times when I've had an owner teed up in the hope that one goes and does what I suppose. Then you're in the driving seat to move straight away and get it done. And I think you have to be now, because there's so many big players now, and their teams are on top of things. So you have to stay on top of it.
But it is also fascinating just how quickly things have changed. And it's not even that quick, really. But in the 1980s, 1990s, and to a certain extent, the early 2000s, the best Irish point-to-pointers, they were in demand, they were being bought, but they weren't being bought to race in Ireland. They were being bought to race in the United Kingdom. And that has completely changed. And obviously the best of the French horses that were coming through, they were staying in the UK as well. But now it's the rise of the Irish trainer, but also the rise of the very powerful owner that wants to support those trainers.
The rise of the Irish money. 25 years ago. So when I started in racing was, let's say, 99, 2000 as such. Well, you didn't have Jigginstown then. JP was a different animal back then in the way they ran. There was a lot of horses in England. He would have had a stable full in John Joe's.
Yeah.
A lot of horses in England, a few in Ireland. Barry Connell wasn't there. Who else? Rob Corr hadn't even come on the scene for another 10 or 12 years.
Rich Ritchie.
So Rich Ritchie didn't even get going in Ireland till about 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around that. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't going really back then, or if he was, it was very low end.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of horses that had to be sold to England. And when I first started, the biggest price a pointer was making back there, and you had hit the jackpot, was 150 to 180. Do you know what I mean? And then I tell you who started the pointers, Roger Brookhouse. He started coming in and he was given 300 grand for a pointer when Jigginstown were just starting. And they were starting to put their shoulder into it. And Roger Brookhouse, when he started giving 300 grand at the Cheltenham sale, it was like, oh my God, this is just unbelievable. Then Alan Potts came along, and I had Mr. Potts for quite some time. And we bought Finion's Oscar. I remember Finion's Oscar was a very, very, very good horse. And he won in Portrush. And he was coming to the sale, and I got Joe Tizard on the case. I said, Joe, we've got to buy this horse. Colin, sorry to start with. I said, Joe came up and sat on him at Cheltenham, a little strip up the breeze up track they used to have just to get a feel for him. So everyone was happy. It was grand. Brilliant. And I told Mr. Potts, I said, I'd like to do something very different here. There's 2 or 3 horses that could make a lot of money, but I want to tell everyone I'm buying this horse for you. He said, why would you do that? That's a silly move. I said, no, it's not. No one will take you on because it's a fool's errand. You won't get beat. You won't get beat, and they'll know that. So why would someone tee an owner up to take you on and not buy? They'll go off in other directions to buy different animals. And he went, I'm not so sure about that, but if you're confident, go ahead. I said, grand. Well, I told the world I was going to buy Finion's Oscar for Alan Potts. He cost 250 grand, which is a lot of money, right? But 2 horses on the night made more money than him. And they were never cited as being racehorses. And that won, I think he won 4 or 5 grade ones that horse before he fatally got killed. But that on that night made the difference with him not making 350, making 250. Then no one took him on when he was in the ring. It's quite amazing. Quite amazing.
So it isn't just then the amount of research that you have to do in terms of sourcing horses and point-to-points and French racing and flat racing and trying to find the right kinds of horses. It's also the chess moves that you have to do behind the scenes.
And I love that part of it. I love that part of it at a sale, knowing what's going to happen before it actually happens. I love that. And I'm in trouble here, or, we're winning here, this is happening, this is going to fall our way. Do you know what I mean? And there are scenarios that work with you and against you sometimes.
Well, Adam Mills is currently organising the Final Furlong podcast poker game, so we're not inviting you, Tom. We're not. I mean, we could bring you in for the crack, but I think you just wiped the floor with the whole lot of us, quite frankly. Okay, Active Innocence. I really enjoyed that conversation as well, by the way, for Paul Nicholls. The next one is switching back to David Pipe. This is Kingston Queen.
Yeah, there's a filly. Liam Kenny trained her in Ireland, and she won her point-to-point in Linkstown, a very, very good track. Finion's Oscar came from there. Very, very, very good track. Very fair. They can run from the top of the hill, but you need to be good to win around there. She probably would have got beaten the day because something fell upsides her at the last. But nonetheless, she was going to be in the mix, and your man had been telling me this is a proper mare. So anyway, it was let out and sold on the night, and I went back, and I think I gave 80 grand for her, right? And loved her. Sold her to Dave, got a good few owners into her, the Kingstonians, they're called, a great bunch of people. His father-in-law was one of them in it, Pete Green. So, and then she went to Chepstow first time out, and ran lovely, got beat. And I went, all right, I thought you were a little bit better than that. But it appeared she got beat by 2 nice enough animals. And then she went, I said, she'll win next time out. She went to Plumpton. And look what beat her in Plumpton. Baron Noir, who went on to win in Punchestown.
Yeah.
And she was a filly taking on the boys. And just behind her was another horse I bought, Tip Top Tim, for Jamie Snowden, who went on to Newcastle and won 11 lengths in a bumper after that. And I thought, you poor girl, you've ran against the boys twice now and showed yourself. And then she went off to Sedgefield just to put a winner on the board. Garrod Harney took 7 off her. I thought, lovely, you've won. And then when she won the mayor's listed race at Market Raisin, I thought, you're good. And then if the ground had been slower in Aintree, look what beat her. She was beaten 2.5 lengths by Shoalin. Shoalin won a maiden by 8.5 lengths. Was it yesterday or the day before in Goran? She won. Did she win the November bumper at Cheltenham last year?
Yeah.
She's a proper filly, an Order St. George, proper filly for Paddy Toomey. And she only got beat 2.5 lengths. Now, I would take Shoalin on any day from here on in over jumps, because that's what this mare is all about. My God. For again, a bit like Sober Glory, for that mare to do exactly what she's done in bumpers tells me, wow, this has got ability, because it's where the jumping's going to make the massive difference to this filly.
And speaking of Sober Glory, Baron Noir was behind Sober Glory before going on to win at Punchestown.
Absolutely. So now you have form lines with this filly being a proper black type filly over jumps.
What kind of trip do you think is going to be ideal for her?
I'd say she stays, if I'm honest. She proved that she stays. So she may start off over 2.25, but evidently before the year's out, she'll be 2.5, 2.6, somewhere around that. She'll get 3 miles. It's not a problem. It's just what's race in front of her. But I would have thought she's going to be a 2.5 plus mare in the end. So
classy enough for graded company, but mare's novice hurdle might not suit her.
Possibly, but you need to stay in Cheltenham. You definitely need to stay in Cheltenham.
Yeah, well,
especially in them mares. You do need to stay.
Air of Entitlement, I think, is definitely a stare, and Rachel got a great tune out of her.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would say when it comes to Cheltenham, you need to stay there. So I never say that you couldn't be a 2-miler at Cheltenham, because they go hard, and they have to stay, and they have to climb that hill. And the one thing about this lady is she's gutsy. So I wouldn't say she couldn't, but I would have thought there's been plenty of 2.5 milers go back and win the champion hurdle. Do you know what I mean? So, not saying that she's in that class. I'm just pointing out that 2.5 milers have gone backwards to go to Cheltenham over 2. So I shouldn't see it being a problem come that time.
Okay, especially with this stamina favouring new course as well. So bear it in mind. Could be another interesting graded novice hurdle performer for David Pipe. Ella McNeil told us all about No Drama Descend, because she's involved in the ownership with her dad of No Drama Descend. A very, very impressive winner on his debut, despite the fact that they were taking on a Dan Skelton horse that the world was telling everybody this horse can't be beaten, but the Nicholls horse did, and then considered good enough to compete in the champion bumper. Kopek de Boers was the name of the Dan Skelton horse. So this horse, Will Biddock trained him to win point of points. But at the end of January last year, and this is another horse we're going to speak about in a minute, at the end of January last year, he took them all to Chipley Park, which is a local point to point. It's 3 miles as the crow flies from my back door. But it's a staying track, and he took all his babies one morning. And I owned Fresh Perspective, and he owns No Drama Descend with another partner. And I think he had about 16 of them there. And the two boys just on heavy, unraceable ground, they just exploded up the straight, the two of them. There wasn't much between them at the end. And I looked at the pair of them and thought, you're two good horses. So my horse ran first, called Fresh Perspective. And he won his 2.5 mile maiden point to point for Will. And then No Drama Descend stepped up to 3 miles somewhere later, about a month later or 5 weeks later. And he won. And obviously Paul and the Barber family know Will well, and they kept on top of it. So it was fairly straightforward. They were going to try and buy him at the Cheltenham Festival sale, and they did. And he looked very impressive. He quickened like a good horse at Warwick. He has a pedigree to be a very, very good horse. And I don't see any difference in it now. And that's that's a very respectable run in the champion bumper. That's a very respectable for a horse that, them 4-year-olds at the time, all right, he was 5 by the time he ran. Sometimes it can just happen a bit much, but that's a very respectable horse. He'll be black type horse this year, no problem. But it's also the benefit of the experience of going to Cheltenham that can really stand him in good stead. And look what it did for the Yellow Clay. He was beaten 12 lengths, and he comes out and is a multiple graded winner last season. And of course, one of the most exciting hurdling prospects for the new season for Gordon. Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Trip for him? He's a walk in the park? He is, but again, the way he quickens, you wouldn't say he couldn't cover himself at a shorter trip. But I would have thought he might start off that way, but he'll end up being a 2.5 miler, I would have thought. Okay, and Fresh Perspective then is the one we'll jump to next for Jamie Snowden. The last time we saw him, he was a very impressive 8th length winner. This was only a couple of days ago. You actually told me this horse is running in the next couple of days. He was sent off a very well-backed even money favourite, and Gavin Sheehan didn't really have a whole lot to do.
Well, he did actually. He had a lot to do to try and stay on him. he done, I promise you now, the horse done everything wrong. In that race, he done everything. He jumped like an idiot, and he's a brilliant jumper. But Jamie had said he wasn't able to get him on grass. The grass was too quick, and there were the padded hurdles, and the whole thing just got to him. But he pricked his ears leaving the back straight and just came hard on the bridle. Now, I knew he was very good. Lovely owners, the Glyn Davises, came down to my pub. We had lunch. We went and looked at the horse. Over a 10-day period, we ended up doing a deal and buying him. And I told, once he'd won for Will, I said, this is a good horse. There's no doubt. He had big 16-3, and he was ready to run in a 4-year-old pint at the end of January. Only good horses can do stuff like that. Now, he went after he won his bumper in Uttoxeter and looked very good that day. He was beaten, I want to say 60 lengths.
47.
60 lengths? 47 lengths behind, 42 lengths behind Wind Beneath My Wings in that listed bumper at Ascot. And then he comes out. He could have won 28 lengths in Fontwell the other day if he'd have put his head forward and jumped a bit better. He'll only do... I love horses that do everything wrong and still win 8 lengths on the bridle. So the future is very bright for him. Very bright. That's a lovely horse, that is.
Yeah, because Jamie Snowden will be able to iron out, hopefully, any of those kinks. But you now
it's
know...
Not even that it's not even that he jumped bad. He just was sloppy. He's just novice-y and green and... wasn't doing a tap when he hit the front, but he couldn't do anything but hit the front and got in under the last 2. He's actually a very good jumper, but he just didn't jump great that day. I would have no issues with his jumping going forward, because next time out you'll see a different horse in a better race and he'll be fine. The jumping isn't an issue. It's just he just didn't lack fluency and whatnot, you want to say, but he will be better in time.
Yeah, and he's clearly got a massive engine as well. Another horse that's got a massive engine is a horse that you and I talked about this time last year. It was Tishan, who was a wildly impressive winner of a point-to-point. Starts out for Paul Nicholls impressively, very, very impressively. A 7-length winner for Johnny Delahaye. Hasn't run since the 2024 Champion Bumper. How is he?
He's fine. He's back in. What he done, I think he gave himself a little stress fracture. Nothing major. Just before, he was to run in the Persian War last year. And literally 10 days before the Persian War, he just gave himself a knock. And they found out it was a small little problem that he would have been ready to come back in end of February, March. But Mr. Delahaye and Paul just decided, look, why don't we just give him the summer off and let's have him back and have a good year at him next year. So I haven't lost any faith. He destroyed a 125 rated horse in Peacenik that was second to him in the bumper that day. He's rated 124 or 5 now. He destroyed him. He laughed at him without even moving. The Champion Bumper, he done everything wrong in the race. He was too keen. He tried to make all. You can't do that and be keen. And then kind of fell away. So there's a great thing in racing. It's a recency bias. You know, because we haven't seen him, people have lost the wow factor. He might just have that back very soon. Do you know what I mean? So I haven't lost faith in him, because when I go back to see the way he destroyed a field of horses in a point, and then seeing how he quickened in a bumper like that around Exeter, as long as he has that ability underneath him, this horse is very, very good.
The horse he beat in that point-to-point, Boyles Hill, he's rated 112, so he's not a superstar, but he's won 3 races under rules.
But he beat him 45 lengths.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he didn't just beat him, he destroyed him. Just in a different league. It's just in a different league they were. So look, I would forgive him the Champion Bumper, and I look forward to a lovely year with him over jumps now. So
okay. Paul Nicholls is going to be ringing you up to buy more horses when he goes bolting in.
So that hasn't stopped anyway. So
exactly. TT Quanti, another one we talked about last year. We were all of the opinion on the podcast that this is an absolute stone cold solid moral for a handicap off a mark of 128, but Paul goes and runs him in a novice hurdle at Foss Last, presumably novice chasing from this season.
He's entered in the Welsh Champion Hurdle at Chepstow at the weekend.
What?
Emmet, wake up, buddy.
How far?
Well, he's not. If we'd have seen the best of this horse, what he done was, when he won in Foss Last and he beat Diamonds for Luck and that came out and boosted the form, he gave himself a nasty slice down the hind leg. Oh, it was horrible. It was really nasty. It had to be stitched and everything, which kept him off for 10 or 12 weeks. Hence why he came back, and then he was second. He was a bit keen and a bit boisterous in Newbury, and just got beat late on by Rubber Ball. And arguably, Paul's horses had been running just below par at the time. But this horse still ran a lovely race. And then the owner wanted to go to the Supreme Novice, which Harry was very, very nice to him in the race. You know, he never bottled him or buried him. And then just back to first class to put it back on the board. And so he bolted up. So this horse is at no miles in the clock. I don't even know where the ending is of him. Like, he will go novice chasing, I believe that's what Paul was thinking. But he entered him in the Welsh Champion hurdle because he's quite a gassy fella. So that could just take the fizz off him. But I don't think the end of him is 132 anyway.
He is chucked in off a mark of 132, I would have thought. And with all due respect, I really like Celtic Dino. He's a nice horse, but he has to give him weight.
But he's had plenty. And he's had plenty of. He's won plenty, and he's plenty exposed. He's probably not holding 7 or 8 pounds anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We might be.
And I don't know how much more improvements is to come from Moonshine either. Oh my goodness. We're covering that race live on TalkSport 2 on Friday, but I've been so focused on flat racing and group racing that I hadn't got stuck into that yet, but I think Daryl Jacob and myself will just both go, yeah, that's fine. TD Conti, how far?
Yeah.
The jumps is almost back. We're looking forward to seeing what TD Conti can do. And then you're thinking novice chasing potentially after that.
I would have thought, but like if he went and bolted up, you'd have to think about potentially one of the handicaps of the Paddy Power, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, it all depends on when a horse like that has only had 3 or 4 runs over hurdles, and you don't know, his last run was a 13-length romp. You don't know where the end of him is. He could just be a brilliant hurdler again this year. You know, he's had no exposure to find out where the end of him is. So I think you take one day at a time. But I think that the plan was to potentially go to the Welsh Champion hurdle and then see where you go after that.
Well, to be fair, Paul started Roubaud over hurdles last season, and he still switched to fences and did quite well. So
absolutely,
no reason why he can't do the same. All right, Regent Stroll is a horse we've had quite a few chats about on the podcast over the last season, but that Grade 1 ability was there for everybody to see at Aintree.
Yeah, well, there's been 2 horses last year when the storm arose, as they say, the abuse started to fly, was for this lad giving all that money. But it wasn't a case of giving all that money. It was that we didn't want to lose him. You know, we originally bought him as a store. He ended up winning his bumper and then winning the Newbury bumper. And then it was a case of we've got to keep him because we knew he was a good horse or of a good level. And of course, he looked like, well, you're not as good as you all thought he was. And he was a disaster. And Jesus, look at the money they spent on that and this, that, and the other. And granted, they can still have that opinion. But he was placed in a Grade 1 at the end of the year. He's a 143 rated novice hurdler. And Paul does extremely well with the likes of that sort of horse to go up to 150 plus, maybe even 60 chasers. And that's the natural progression with Paul and something like that. And he took a bit just to get to race properly. He was a bit keen and a bit gassy, and he's only 6. So there's every reason to suggest he'll put his best foot forward this year, and he could just be a very, very, very quality novice chaser.
And the Ollie Murphy horse who beat him was unbeaten in 4 consecutive starts. He lost on his debut, but he'd won the other 4. We have no idea how good Fingal Bridge could be. So
Fingal Bridge in the listed novice hurdle, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And Honesty Policy, who beat him at Aintree, ran an absolute blinder at Punchestown Festival behind the Albert Bartlett winner.
I think if my memory serves, we clattered. We may have dived at the second last or the last and lost a bit of momentum. Like, we only went down a half a length. It was a great ending to the year with so much to promise for the following season. So the future's still bright for that horse.
Oh, I vividly remember that race because I'd backed him. He was a massive double-figure price. He was something like 18 to 1, and he halved into 9s before the off. No, he's an exciting horse. Obviously, a walk in the park, and he's only 6, so there's plenty more to come from him. Okay,
and he's out of a sister to the dam of Denman, so it's all about chasing. That pedigree is massive pedigree.
So you be of the opinion we're not going to see the best of him until this season and beyond?
Oh, I'd say we're only going to start seeing this horse now.
Okay, Regent Stroll, don't forget him. Sinatra, another walk in the park. We've only seen him twice, Chepstow and Windsor. Last time out, he was a bit disappointing behind Idaho Sun, but he'd been a good winner on debut.
Yeah, he was very, very good on debut. We gave a lot of money for him as a store, but he had a lovely pedigree, and he was a beautiful, beautiful horse by walking the park, who's champion stallion. And he won on debut, and we thought, right, we found one here. And we went then to Windsor for the new racing festival, and he ran a lovely race, probably over-travelled in it, and just didn't pick up like we thought he would. But you could argue it was at a time when not many of them were doing the same. Do you know what I mean? So, and he's fine. He'll be a beautiful novice hurdler this year. So I'd say the dream is still alive with him.
Okay, one for Gavin Cromwell, unbeaten in 2 starts, Bud Fox.
Yeah, he's a machine. Yeah, he's proper. I bought him after he won his point. He won the first 4-year-old maiden of the year last year, and the reason I was focused on the race, because the second horse I'd seen in Rob James's on my tours in January was a horse called Pirouet, and I fell in love with him. And this thing came past him like a motorbike and just whizzed left and right round him and beat him. He only beat him 2 lengths, but Derek O'Connor's 2 lengths is 5 lengths by anyone else, because he kind of let him roll up into the last, winged it, and then won 2 lengths. And anyway, a long kind of protracted battle with the vendors. It wasn't Derek, it was the Blaheen brothers, and I get on great with them. We had a great old sale over the horse, got him bought, and then Gavin Cromwell, once he got him, he says, I really like this horse. Geez, I'm thinking of going to Punchestown with him. I said, well, he's the type you could, because he's a sharp sort of horse. Anyway, Derek wanted to ride him in Punchestown, so that gave us even more credence to how much Derek thought of him at home. And yeah, he won. And the second has come out last week and won by 9 lengths in a bumper. The fourth has come out and won.
Won twice.
You don't get too many bad Punchestown bumpers, but a 24 runner bumper, this was a good one, and that's a very, very smart horse.
Paul Byrne's horse with Gordon Elliott has come out and won as well. He was sent off favourite.
Yeah, I think he might be off to America, to Far Hills, for a little assault on the American market.
The Gordon Elliott horse or Bud Fox?
Yeah. No, the Gordon Elliott horse.
Okay.
I think there's a race. I don't think there's a race in Far Hills, the October meeting for him. Gordon's
got a great record out there, and Paul Byrne's a very ambitious man.
Yeah, and they like having runs. They like having winners.
They like the dollars too, so you may as well head out there and try and get a few of them. When you say machine, you haven't used that word for anybody else, and I don't remember you using it last year. Do you think this is a Grade 1 horse?
I think he's definitely a good graded horse. Whether he's a Grade 1 horse, I think it'd be very hard to say that after 2 runs, one a point and one a bumper. But he's definitely a black type horse. There's no doubt about that. He can quicken, he can travel, he can stay, and he can quicken. There are 3 things that you need in any good racehorse.
It's the same bumper.
So yes,
it's the same bumper that Gavin won with 6.5. Who was obviously sent off favourite for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle and went so close to victory, but not quite. But graded horse for sure. Bud Fox in the tracker, and we're going to follow him blindly. Stick to the plan for Ollie Murphy. Winner last time out, and he'll make his debut for Ollie Murphy this season.
He'll make his debut potentially on Saturday in the Persian War. I bought this horse off Cormac Farrell after the Galway listed novice hurdle, and I sold him to 2 brilliant guys, Paul and John McGowan, who have horses with Ollie, and Willie Mullins. They've one actually running today in Galway, Coco Move, I think it is, Coco Move. And I told them, I said, buy this, lads. This horse will win the Persian War. So that's the plan.
So you said he'll win the race, and we're now a few days away from him running in it. Yeah.
And Ollie Murphy has waxed lyrical how nice he is. Their only thing was, Tom, he might actually be a far pacier horse than even you thought. So he'll either run at the weekend or he goes to Cheltenham for a 2-mile novice hurdle in 2 weeks' time.
Okay. Currently, Sean Bone is jocked up to ride.
I'd say if it was 6-7 runners, he'll definitely run there. I think if it was 10 or 12, he may not. He might go to Cheltenham in 2 weeks. Well, I don't think the owners would be disappointed either one.
This is going to be fascinating because David Maxwell has let it slip in an interview that Harry Durham was telling him, no, don't retire. We've lined up Queensberry Boy and he's an absolute certainty for the Persian War. And that's meant all the odds compilers have just gone, all right, well, 6-4 then.
He's favoured.
Yeah. 6 well, if they're telling us, fair enough. But it turns out Tom Malone was in the background with Ollie Murphy going, yeah, by the way, you're going to win the Persian War.
Well, look, I mean, talk is cheap until it actually happens, but
true.
He'll have to pull out all the stops Queensberry Boy if this lad runs to beat him.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Tom Malone.
Well, he's rated 135 with experience. You know, he's won at Galway. He's fit and ready. And I'm not saying Queensberry Boy won't be fit and ready. Of course he will. But this horse is track ready. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll come down the straight together, but it'll be an interesting one, which one ends up in front.
Are you listening, Harry Durham? Are you listening, Harry? Don't even bother turning up, Harry.
Harry will know exactly what he has, and more power to him. He's flying.
Oh, he's a class act.
We'll have a bit of fun on the day regardless. They're two good horses, end of. I'd say he'll be sad to see him. I'd say he'll be doing his best to try and keep him regardless of what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And obviously the Maxwell horses will be going through the dispersal. Any of those horses interesting you?
It's a difficult one because most of the trainers that are training them, they're going to do their best to spend the most money and to keep the ones they want, and the others then can go off point to point and at this present time, I'd say probably not, because the one I want, El Cairo, looks the classiest of the lot of them, and then there's a few unexposed, nice young horses already with trainers. They're going to want to try and keep them. So, you know, it's a bit of, it's working out if you want to buy that or start again with a younger horse. So at this present time, I would say no.
I have two questions for you. What was your reaction to the bookmakers cutting El Cairo for the Supreme Novice Hurdle with the news that David Maxwell was retiring and would no longer be riding him? And two, what do you think his price will be? What do you think he's going to go for?
He's speedy. He's classy. He's very classy. He'll be a Supreme Novice horse. There's no doubt about that. I don't know what price he'd be. Jesus, like, the thing about that horse, I remember him very well. He was at the Punchestown sale, and in his point to point, he'd done something most don't do. He'd done what Bud Fox done. He quickened. He dropped his head and he quickened. He was able to do, most point to pointers gallop to the line. Brilliant. Lovely, make a 3-mile chaser. They showed something different on the day. They showed a bit of class, a bit of gear to get away from other horses. And what probably stopped us from getting, I said it to Dave Cross the other day, actually, we were in a taxi on the way to the Arc sale, and I said, Paul likes nice, big, scopy chasing types of horses, and this lad was just 16 hands, but he's a racehorse. But he wouldn't fill the eye of Paul, or in his normal routine, he wouldn't have filled the eyes, but he is a racehorse. But it probably might stop him from making stupid, someone has muted 500,000 or 600,000. I can't see it myself personally. Ability-wise, would you give it for him? Yeah, of course you would, because he's going to be a graded horse. Whether someone will, for just the lack of size of a chase fence in time, I think. I might be completely wrong here. But it'll be interesting to see what he makes on the night. But yeah, grand. Why? The man bought the horse to ride him. He done perfectly well on him. There's arguably he could have beaten Baron Noir, but he didn't. End of. Move on. The man was spending his money and deciding. No one asked anyone to bet a horse that he rode.
No, that's my attitude. That's my attitude, David. David Maxwell 100%. Comes across as one of the nicest people and one of the most humble people in racing.
Absolutely.
I didn't back David Maxwell horses, except there was one Adam Mills put up in the Grand National, and David got him around and got him placed. But I didn't enjoy backing his horses, but I enjoyed watching him, and I really admired the fact that he was brave enough to go out there and ride in a race, in literally a sport where you can be killed. And
on numerous occasions, he hit the ground, and still wanted to come back from it. So fair play to him. I mean, I hope in time he comes back as an owner, because I didn't like that side of it. That when he decided to call time on riding, it meant he called time on being an owner. I actually found that disappointing for the sport. But then I seen and heard the reasons to why he just for a minute, he just didn't want to be seeing someone else riding the horses that he'd have the bug to go back on. And I get that totally then. So I hope someday he comes back, because he'd be a sad loss. You know, what did he have? 15, 20 horses of note. That's 15, 20 not racing in England now again.
Exactly. And he's a great character. He's a great personality for the sport.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And the sport needs owners like him. So I would imagine in a couple of years, he'll be back.
I hope so. That'll be the biggest loss to this, is if we don't see him back and his colours on a race course.
Yeah.
That'll be a big loss to the racing.
Well said. We'd love to get David on the show as well at some point, because he's...
I'm sure he would do it.
Yeah, no, he's a class act. We really like him. Wendigo is a bit of a class act himself. He ran a blinder in the potato race, or the Albert Bartlett, to give it its proper name.
Yeah.
It's the potato race. And he'd obviously been the only one. Well, he got close to the new line. I'm not going to say he gave him a race, but he got close to him. And it turns out that form's bloody good.
Yeah, he stays. He's a very, very honest, staying, nice horse. Again, he's 143 rated novice hurdler to go chasing. Like, that's, you hope, given his size and scope and the type of honest horse he is, you hope you're adding 10 pounds to that as a novice chaser. So you're getting up into a proper black type novice chaser. Well, if you have 150 plus novice chaser, you're banging the mix of being in the single figures for the, what is it called now? I always call it the RSA, Brown Advisory. I always call it that, but you're banging the mix. And it's arguable to say in the Albert Bartlett last year, he got murdered at a crucial point on the bend, turning for home, which would have stopped his momentum from being in the first three, I think. You know, he still was only beaten 8 lengths, finished 5th. Like, it's arguable to say he should have been 3rd. You know, anyway, luck would have it. It was his highest racing post rating. They put him up £8 for that run, and so they should. He's a bloody lovely animal, he is.
So novice chasing the plan with him this season. Obviously, Jimmy Snowden has done really, really well with chasers. He's a horse they can be very excited about.
Oh, absolutely, because he's honest, and he stays. He's straightforward. You point, you shoot, and he runs his race. Very rarely lets you down. You know, every day we've ran that horse, he's been in the money. Every day, apart from Cheltenham when he was 5th of 20, but you take that, arguably should have been in the 3. Every day he's ran. For us, he was 3rd in a bumper. He won, he was 2nd, he won, he was 2nd, he won, he was 5th. You know, there, to me, and Racing Club own him. So there's so many owners invested in that horse that are getting a thrill out of having a horse capable of being a Cheltenham animal. I think that's amazing.
Okay. 3 mile chasing? Brown Advisory?
I would have thought so. It's not Jamie's thing to start off over 3 miles, but I'm sure he'll end up there.
Yeah.
But Jamie could start him off over 2 in a novice chase. You wouldn't know. Maybe 2.5 would be the right way, but Jamie could definitely start him off over a shorter trip. It won't matter. Okay,
I'm going to hand over control to you, because you've given me a list of horses that we know nothing about, and you're very kindly going to talk us through these. This is, I said, the most valuable commodity in racing is potential, and these are the horses that have potential. So the first one is North Shore.
North Shore is a horse that has gone to Gavin Cromwell for Owen Daly, and he's a 9. I'd say he's rated about 93 or 4 on the flat. He's just a beautiful, honest, staying flat horse, and I'd say over jumps this year for Gavin in Ireland, he's going to take a bit of whacking. There want to be a few nice juveniles against him. He won in Clairefontaine. He was 2nd on soft ground in Chateaubriand, 2nd start, beaten by a Sayuni filly who was having her 2nd start and 2nd win, and he nearly mowed her down. And then he went to Clairefontaine. Maxime Guillon rode him and said, if I'd have known him, I'd have won. And he went back and then just got beaten Sun Clue. So he's a beautiful, honest, likeable horse. He's one that'll be, he's one that should end up in the Triumph Hurdle, really.
Ooh, okay, North Shore. Second one is Parchment with David Pipe.
Yeah, he's a horse I bought after he won first time out in Clairefontaine. And he done an amazing speed figure that day. He really did. He just quickened. He has a lot of speed. And Noel George said this horse would win on the flat. And I can see what he means now, because he's in David Pipes and he's quite a sharp horse. You know, you can, if you give him a squeeze, he'd just go for you. He's by Triple Threat, who was standing in Ireland, and unfortunately they've lost him recently. The second then went to the Arcana sale, and I underbid him with Jamie Snowden, and Paul Nicholls has him. So, and he likes Pourquoi pas papa, it's called. Right, I'll let you pronounce that better if you want, but that's what that's called. And Paul has that now, really likes it. And then the third and fourth have come out and won very well. So that can be ranked up as a proper nice juvenile race. And he's a horse we're going to look forward to in the coming months.
So there's a couple of horses there for you to watch out for, involving that parchment form.
Yeah.
Manior de Mirande.
Yes, bought him after one for Jigginstown for Gordon Elliott, and really like him. Going through the motions the minute, no pressure on him, but won AQPS and looks a very smart horse. And the second has actually been bought, and it's at Jamie Snowden's, and he likes that. So watch out for him. He's very, very nice.
Okay, Fairy Park.
Yeah, Fairy Park won a point for Colombo, and Joey Logan owned it, and I bought it off him, and I sold it to Brocade Racing, and it's gone to Joe Tizard. And I'm hearing it's very, very nice. I'm hearing they really like it. Now, she, like Colin said to me, he said she was quite inexperienced for one of his going for a race, and she destroyed them. So the future's bright for her. She's only a baby, a 4-year-old. Will go the bumper route this year. No, don't push them 4-year-olds. And Brocade Racing, Gareth and Ambroom, they love giving their horses time, and it works. Probably go the Sober Glory route. Nice 2 or 3 bumpers this year, and then novice hurdling next year.
Speaking of babies, Baby Ken.
Yes. So Baby Ken won first time out over, I'd say it was a mile 6, trained by Ludovic Gabin, a very good friend of mine. And then he dropped it back, and it got beat by a little sharp flat horse from Germany who's rated 100 odd now. And I went, I like you. You've showed you stayed, and now you've dropped back and showed speed. So we bought him, and Paul's very excited about him. Very excited. Jumps for fun. Very, very good jumper. So he's very excited by him.
Any idea what trip he'll start out over?
All them juveniles. He's a juvenile hurdler, 82 miles.
Okay.
They don't have any other trip at the minute.
No, that's it. We'll watch out for him. Ellie Marie.
Ellie Marie is a pointer, a filly that was trained by Willie and Andy Slattery, and he'd been telling me that this is a black type filly all along. She got beat first time out. Grand, arguably, if he'd ridden her a bit different, she ran at them late on, but it didn't matter. She's shown me enough, and what I'm hearing in Ditchit is they really like her. So there's a smart filly for a bumper somewhere.
Werner
is by Sea the Stars and was in Germany, and again done a good speed figure, and we latched on to him. We liked what we seen, and he's typical of a Jigginstown big scopy 3-year-old. So I sold him to Jigginstown, and he's gone to Gordon Elliott's.
Sappho's Word.
Sappho's Word, yeah. Sappho's Word is by a brilliant young stallion standing in Ireland for the floods, and it's Poet's Word. And actually, Poet's Word had a filly win in Stratford yesterday. She looked a little rocket, she did. She won by 8 or 9 lengths. And you're going to hear a lot about Poet's Word's progeny this year, because I've seen a lot of the stock over the last 2 years being bought, and they're just going to bounce on the scene this year now, and you're going to see plenty of winners and plenty of nice horses by Poet's Word. Sappho's Word won first time out in Linkstown. Filly looks like a gelding. Bought her for a new owner that's just new to racing. He's after buying 3. And yeah, she's gone to Jamie Snowden, and we're looking forward to her. And Jamie keeps winking when I mention her name. So that's good enough for me.
Definitely into the tracker, and we're backing that horse blindly first time out. And then final one, Presley.
Presley was a store we bought out of a mare called Mateen, and it's by Harzand. I've had a good bit of luck with Harzand. I have a nice horse with Brocade Raiden and David Pipe called Gentleman to Boot, and he won his bumper last year. He looks an exciting horse for novice hurdling this year by the same stallion, a big pedigree, and I hear he's very good.
Okay. You've given us incredible amounts of information. Which of these horses are you most excited about seeing for the new season?
It's hard. It's hard to pick one out, because I've given you proper nice quality stock there that I'm looking forward to seeing them all, if I'm honest. But if you want of the already brigade, Wind Beneath My Wings, I can't not wait to see what he could do given the initial first impression he created in this country. So really looking forward to him. Tishan still have, when a horse does something as special as he done in a point and showed that ability in a bumper, for me, when they can do that, I just still think that there's a big day in him. Bud Fox, of course, and then of the babies, them all. I couldn't pick one. It's like your children, isn't it? What are you going to say? I like my daughter more than my son. No, I can't do that. Well, I
like the second more than the first.
Well, what did I say? We had, was it 14 or 19 we mentioned on this show last year, and I went through it the other day. 14 of them had won.
Yeah.
And two or three of the 5 that didn't will win, and 2 aren't as good as I thought they were. So I'll take them stats any day.
Well, I think Tishan was the one we talked about as being potentially the new Envoi Allen. So that might just be the thumbnail for this one. Do you still feel that he could be capable of emulating that talent?
I don't know if we can say Envoi Allen jobby off the back of the champion bumper run. But let him climb. Like, your man won, did he win 8 or 9? Envoi Allen won 8 or 9 grade 1s. Like, that's unheard of. That's proper. So we've a long way to go to get to there, but I still have faith in the talent he can possess.
Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again. I hope we get to do it again before the end of the new season. The very best of luck to you for the new jump season. You've got a lot of firepower there, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more to come.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Pleasure as always, Tom. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for watching and for listening to this episode of the Final Furlong podcast as the new jump season is in sight. And with that in mind, make sure you've hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. And of course, smash a like on this episode as well to show your appreciation for Tom and his time giving all of that incredible insight for free. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
Thanks for spending some time with us on the Final Furlong podcast. We're independent media, so if you like what we do, hit like, share, and subscribe. It's free, it's quick, and it genuinely helps. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where that came from. Don't miss out. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major platforms, and join us on the gravy train. The Final Furlong podcast, independent, unfiltered, and powered by you.